everyone, today I'll be reviewing this brand new movie. Like, it's not a brand new, I suppose. It came out last year in theater, but it is dropped on Netflix, called Medieval. And this movie, it is starring Ben Foster, Sophie Lowe, and this movie is directed by Patrick Zaki. So I was actually excited to see this movie because I saw the trailer starring Ben Foster, this historical drama. I am sucker for this kind of movie. I really like checking them out. Although this kind of movie, they're always a little slow burn and slow pace. So but still, I was really excited to see this. So when it's dropped on Netflix, that being said, of course, this movie, it is based on a true story. And this movie does starts with this narration by Michael Caine, and I was like, whoa, very interesting things going to happen, because the trailer looked like this is kind of like an action-packed medieval drama. Well, it is kind of. There is some decent action scene in this movie. Some of the scenes are pretty bloody, and this movie, it doesn't have a huge budget, you know what I mean? Like, whenever you're making any historical drama, you need at least a good amount of money to make them, because you need a good costume, production design, and all those things. I think this movie managed to do a good job. The movie budget is only $20 million. That being said, I do thought when I was all the action scene, like, they're okay. They're not like, it's tried too hard to be too bloody. Like, it didn't need to be this much bloody when I was watching. I'm like, that was kind of odd. Okay, so that is not the biggest problem with this movie at all, because this movie is actually action scenes. Some of them are engaging. Maybe it's too much repetitive, but yeah. But the way this movie starts, like first 40 minutes or so, like you don't know what you are watching. Like, who are all these people? Are, even though they narrate for you, and still you, as an audience, you feel like you are confused, whenever you are watching a historical drama, it's always hard to keep track. But as an audience, I feel like as a director, do have to set up a simple plot that, okay, he's the good guy, he's the bad guy, and so audience can follow like what is the story. Although this movie does become interesting halfway through, I will say. But first act for this movie, when I look back and think about it, really didn't need to be dragged that much. Basically, Ben Foster in this movie, he is a mercenary who is like work for hire, and now he's I guess somehow he get caught between this drama of this political drama going on, when he kidnapped this lady named Catherine, who's supposed to marry this lord in this movie. Of course, the minute he kidnapped her, he's gonna fall in love with her, because that's how it goes. But I feel like the first act, I don't know why first 40 minutes I had to waste my time see him going on to all this like thing. Didn't really need it, I feel like. And that is why this movie will lose point with the audience. Like, a lot of people will be bored by first act, and the first act is so important for any drama, because to set up the character, and so the audience will engage with the character. Although Ben Foster is really good in this movie, I feel like his brother character was also interesting. But this movie does have a lot of scene. You're like, all the dialogues are really, all the dialogue in this movie doesn't make any sense. What are they saying? And I'm like, it's not very well written movie. The storytelling is I will say, the biggest problem here. Like, I don't mind this kind of story, like, like very simple end of it, this movie. When I look back and think about it, like, he get caught between all this thing, but like, but the storytelling could have been really better, because the last act was interesting. Like, but how many people will be sticking around to see that? That's some cool, interesting scene this movie does have, because I do see this movie is very lowest rated all everywhere. Like, as I was saying, some people will see first 40 minutes, you don't get idea about what is happening, especially as the audience. You look back, you're like, that was wasting of my time. Again, it's cool to put some action scene with the bloody things, but you always have to set up your characters first, I feel like, because the end of this movie, only one character is Ben Foster. How about all the other guys? Like, I don't know any of them. They just randomly shows up and they look the same, all of them. I was like, it was really hard for me to keep track of it. And I am actually really sucker for this kind of historical drama, I even liked that last movie. Last year, this movie came out called Last Duo. It was very interesting movie. A lot of people didn't like that movie, and that movie was directed by Ridley Scott. The Last Duo, like even though a lot of people didn't like, I really like that movie, but I understand why a lot of people didn't like that. This one, I also, as I was saying, storytelling could have been better, honestly. Did had interesting all this thing, but didn't do good at on storytelling, although story itself was interesting. And that was my thought on this. Let me know in the comment what do you think about this movie, and if you enjoyed about this review, don't share other reviews on other topics. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take care.